the screen early. I appreciate that. We'll start in a couple of minutes. And if you put your screen up, that's great. If you have a question before we get started about hiring or training, I can help you. I dug the well on this one, and I love this subject. And this is my one thing. Well, one of my one things, I should say. All right. So who's got a question for me? So if you're on screen, I want you to get the most you can. So Debbie Ruvo, you're on mute. Say hello to me. Where are you from?
I'm Monica, Washington State, Puyallup, Washington.
Oh, wow. Great. Good, good. All right. So what's the one thing you want out of this, and I appreciate your commitment. So what's the one thing you want out of this commitment this morning?
Well, I've been doing real estate for 26 years, be 27 next month. I broke away from the larger real estate companies and formed my own firm, 55 Plus Real Estate Services. Been doing that for 2.5 years. Hired my first assistant. She was with me 1 year, and I had to terminate her after her 1 year and 2 days with me. She had a pain demand, and she came to me and said, I want this amount of money. And she loved working with me. And I said, well, if you can go somewhere else, then why are you staying with me? Because I love it here. And I said, I cannot pay you or will not pay you that. And then she was insubordinate one day. So I guess what I'm really looking for is, I thought I did all the right things. I did the interviews, I did the personality disc tests, I did all of that. So I'm looking for answers of, I guess you really don't know until you get into learning and knowing someone.
Right.
And I thought I knew her, but apparently she wanted me to fire her so she can get her stimulus package and unemployment, I guess. I don't know. So
there were a lot of, there are some challenges with that going on, obviously, last year. And some people, took advantage of some situations. So I'm going to go through some points here. And then I'm going to circle back to you, Debbie, and ask you, once we've heard your story now, what do you think you could have done differently? And without getting into the specifics of the pay, but you'll hear some of the mistakes, and then we'll go from there. And then I'll circle back at the end of the call and see if you could pinpoint something you'd like to do differently moving forward. Okay?
Thank you.
Good. Hey, everyone, I'm Monica Reynolds, and thank you for being on today's call. Miss Angel, did you want to say something before we get started?
Yes, thank you so much, Monica. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, How to Avoid the 9 Mistakes When Hiring the Perfect Real Estate Assistant with VP of Maps, Monica Reynolds. Please note this webinar is being recorded and will be available within 24 hours after this webinar has ended on the Maps Group YouTube channel. You may find the link to the YouTube channel in your Zoom confirmation email, and we will also drop it in the chat momentarily. If you have questions for your coach, please type them into the chat box located in the taskbar at the bottom of your screen. Following the webinar, if you have any questions about today's call or coaching programs, please email us at fasttrack@kw.com. That's all from me, Monica. Take it away.
Thank you, Angel. You have the best name in the world, and it's so appropriate for you. So I appreciate all you do. So, hey, everyone, I'm Monica Reynolds, and I guess I dug the well. I wrote books in the 90s on assistance and team building. I got thrown out of a Coldwell Banker office when I was doing more business than all their agents together because I brought in an assistant in the 80s, and they thought, oh, wait a second, the liability, she's not licensed. Oh my gosh. So obviously, I've done this for about 40 years now, and I love the opportunity to talk to you about how to hire the right person. That can be the best thing that you do in your real estate career, the most magnificent thing that you do in the real estate career. And hiring the wrong person can be the most awful thing that you do in your real estate career. It can taint you. You've lost some business. You're frustrated. There's so much involved when you hire the wrong person. And sometimes people say it's 3 times the salary. If you spend 6 months with someone and then they end up leaving or you firing them, then there's about 3 months of their salary that can potentially have been lost, meaning, did they give you a lead when they should have? Did they handle the phone correctly? The phone's the cash register. So were they trained properly, or did you change the job on them and they just couldn't keep up with everything coming at them? Did you hire in the middle of chaos versus bringing them on gradually in a, say, a 30, 60, 90-day plan, which I'm going to talk about and share a bunch of those things with you. So let's get started. So it's the best thing you can do, or it could be the worst thing you do when you hire the wrong person. And so we're going to talk about how to build this system of really evaluating who is the right person, who's that right person to get seated on the bus with you. So with that said, Stephanie, let's go to the next slide. So what I want to share with you today, and you can put your questions in the chat box, I'll do my best to answer them. So when you're looking to hire people, don't just look at their resume, okay? Make sure that they're a good cultural fit for you and your company. And you're hiring your first assistant. It's you are the culture. It's how your standards are. It's how you treat people. It's how respectful you want to be to people on the phone, respectful on how you greet people. Remember, your culture, you create that with your assistant. And ultimately, when your team grows, your assistant is the keeper of the culture. They are the keeper of the culture. So did you spell out your expectations very clearly? When and where they're going to work, when they need to come into the office, when they need to work from home remotely. That's a new kink in the wheel that we didn't have before. What meetings and trainings are expected, and what level of participation and support is expected. So setting the correct expectations. Now, a lot of you are Ds on this call, and unfortunately, we speak in hieroglyphics. We speak really fast, and we expect people to keep up with us without really explaining things sometimes. I'm sure none of you have ever done that, right? No one on this call does that. And so now's the time to really think about, are you going to set some standards? So I always make this clear to someone. So let's say you have a buyer agent and they haven't sold a house in 3 months. There's your standard. You don't have to sell houses to be on that team. Now, let's say you have an assistant and they keep coming to work late. That's your standard. Let's say that they're not crossing the T's and dotting the I's on certain things that you need. That's your standard because you're letting it go. So always remember, wherever the lowest part of your business is, that's your standard right now. So hopefully on today's, you're gonna hear some different things. So let's go to the next slide, Stephanie. And we're going to talk about the 9 mistakes. Now, I'm going to go in depth on some of these things, but I'm going to give you an overview on this slide. So you need to understand your why. Why do you need help? So when I hired my first assistant, I was a single mom with 3 kids. I'm not good at crossing the T's and dotting the I's. I'm a great salesperson, right? I love to sell. And so when it came to all the contracts in the business that I was doing about 60 contracts a year with no help. And, I blew up a marriage. My life was kind of a mess. My kids, I was juggling them, taking care of them, was the sole parent provider. And
Hello. Yeah, I can hear you now. This is Paula from Marty's office. How can I?
Oh, thank you, Marty, for putting yourself on mute. I appreciate that. Okay. All right. So with that said, when you look at your why I needed help, I needed support. I was missing as many deals as I was doing. My customer service was pretty non-existent in a way. I did the basic minimums, but I didn't give them a customer experience. It was service, not experience. And I explain that further. So you have to have a budget for a hire, and yet you need to stretch yourself also. So when this business person said to me, you need an assistant, I said, I don't need another mouth to feed. I'm doing all I can right now. And they said, no, you need another person. So I thought about it, and he said, do you have, 2,000, 3,000, whatever it was at the time in the 80s or 1980. And I said, well, yeah. And he goes, okay, hire him for 1 month, but don't tell him that, see how it works. And I went, okay, I can do that. And so if you're sitting here and you don't have an assistant, I'm going to ask you this question. If you had someone 10 hours a week and you paid them $15 an hour, it might be high in your area to do that. That is $150 a week times 4, that's $600 a month. You would get 40 hours back in your life. Now, if you strategically use that time to build your business with lead generation, going on appointments, talking to clients, working on your business, but not doing the stuff, but looking for business. Maybe taking one of your clients out that you've done several deals with out for lunch or coffee and just say, how can I help you? And thank you for being helped. And by the way, do you know anyone right now who could use my services? What are you doing to lead generate that you could add that 10 hours a week? Do you think if your average commission is $10,000 and you paid $600 for an assistant 10 hours a week and you got a $10,000 return? Of course. What if you had that person 20 hours a week? What is it that doesn't have a dollar sign next to it as a great agent? What are you doing? So a dollar sign is lead generation, lead follow-up, going on appointments, negotiating contracts, and role playing. That's it. Everything else is stuff that could be delegated. And once you learn that, on page 60 in the MREA book by Gary Keller, page 60, paragraph 2, it says, if you get anything out of this book, leverage. And that means hiring an assistant. So with that said, you got to know your numbers. Do they support another hire? Or do they support a hire or another hire? So I'll give you what I've learned in 40 years. So if you have one assistant that does, then you're doing about 40 transactions. Okay, that's fine. Once you get past 45 transactions, you're going to 60 to 75, you need at least a half. When you do 100 transactions, you need 2 full-time. Now, can you hire someone at 20 transactions? Yes, if you have the budget for it. Couple months of salary, 3 months of salary in a reserve account? Yes. And that you are absolutely clear that you are going to let go of the files, let go of the systems, and you can help build them as you can start flying the plane with the assistant, building your systems. However, your job is lead generation and going on appointments. That's where you make money. So with that said, you've got to know your numbers. Do they support a hire? So I know people that have come out of college, lived in their parents' basement, and hired their first assistant right off the bat. And they are phenomenally successful. So do your numbers support? Can you afford it? And is this where you want to go? Know your why. I needed leverage. And I didn't have a big plan to have a big team at the time, which I ultimately ended up doing. I had no plan of opening my own office, which I ended up doing. I just wanted one assistant to help me. That next year, I went to 120 transactions, literally doubled my business with one assistant, realizing now I need my second assistant. And I got them both licensed so they could go open the door for me when I needed that. So the next question is, you don't have a detailed job description for each position on day one. So the job description, listen to this, is your checklist for training. It is your checklist for training. So in the perfect real estate assistant, obviously I give you the job description for an assistant, a buyer agent, ISA. I've got all the job descriptions in the 30, 60, 90. That 30, 60, 90 on number 5 is one of the most important things to build the position so that you can say, okay, this first 30 days, they learned about listings, they learned the database, they learned the computer, they learned how to answer the phone. That's the first 30 days. You'll see this form coming up. Just stay tuned. It's on this slide deck and you'll get a copy of this too. So what I want you to hear is that it is very, very important to know the job that they're going to be brought in to do. It may change because it always does. And the 30, 60, 90 to have those measurable successes. And you can't just say, okay, in 3 weeks they're trained. No, not when you're building a team and relinquishing everything except lead generation, lead follow-up, go on appointments, write contracts, and role play. Okay. All right. Your compensation plan has to be ready for growth. So when people ask me this, when you live in Mississippi, it's a lot different than living in San Diego, where the average sales price is now $850,000. Okay. It's just the demographics of the country. So, when I hire an assistant, I always say, this is the salary, and it's a fair salary where they can pay bills, and it's the salary for that type of a position. And then I'll say, I will never change your salary. What I will change is your bonus structure. And after 90 days, you're going to get a bonus on every single closing. I want you to want the success of this business too. So in every closing, you're going to get paid, let's say hypothetically, $25 a closing. Now, these conversations, if you're an assistant here, don't go and say, Monica Reynolds said this. What you want to think about is, how do you, in the big picture, as a team leader, an assistant that's going to be helping build the team, how do we get everyone to want the success and participate in the success? So let's say after 6 months, a year, whatever, I visit the assistant, they're doing a great job. Everything's going great. I look at the pros, the cons, and what they do, and I may raise that bonus structure to be more. There is a cap on that, and I tell them there's a cap. But the more business I do, the more money you make. Hiring someone that's going to be an executive administrative assistant, they need a paycheck. You should never give a percentage of your business. You should never give a percentage of your business. And that's it. That's the golden rule. And that's the big mistake that a lot of people make. Yet I do not want a cul-de-sac salary. I want to hire people who want the business to grow. I don't want to have an assistant when I walk in and say, here's 3 listings and 2 contracts over the weekend. They go, oh, you're kidding me. Really? Seriously? They go, yay, because they're thinking ching, 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 right? I like that. All right. So you must have a compensation plan for growth, and it can't be a cul-de-sac. If they're licensed, I'll pay them 25% referrals from any of their friends, family. Why not? I'd ask you, you'd pay me, or past coworkers. If they're not licensed, I tell them to get licensed, because you always want someone licensed on your team, of course. I never had assistants that weren't licensed. And the second thing is that when you look at this compensation plan, you also want to say that if you're not licensed, I'll pay you, closing $250 bonus. You can pay any bonus you want. You cannot pay a percentage of the 25% if they're a referral fee if they're not licensed. Don't do it. Don't do it. So if you're Keller Williams, I appreciate that. You always have a KPA, and you always have a disc that they submit with deadlines. They miss the deadlines. I'm not interested in talking to them. I send them an email, say, thank you very much. The position's been filled. I will go through those questions prior to giving them those tests. You want to screen them before you give them those tests. And you have a growth plan. So right now on my team, and you guys know I run maps for KW. I am now we have 28 staff people, and I'm talking to each one, and I'm talking about their growth. I talk about, listen to this, 3 things in growth I talk about: financial growth, personal growth, and career growth. So I've divided it up into 3 things. And when you become part of their future and what they're hoping to do. So some people on my team have college debt, super brilliant people, and they got a lot of college debt, or they have a big car debt, or they're trying to save money to, buy their first house. I mean, you become part of who they are and where they're going in the future. And so that is how you keep people too, is when you create that relationship, that bridge of a relationship of trust and of encouragement. And here's what happens when you work with me. Here's your opportunities. All right. And you've got to have training, and you've got to constantly pour into your people. And I'm going to go through more of that. So going to the perfect real estate assistant class, that is a perfect way for systems to be tweaked. I have people who have been assistants for years, and they go, oh my gosh, it's so great to hear this. And yet now I can tweak a few of these systems. Assistants leave you for 2 reasons: communication and money. If you were on the call earlier, you heard me talking to Deb, and obviously it was a money issue. And so sometimes when you lay out what the opportunities are to earn money, and then it's very clear. They're, as I always say, I'll never change your salary. What's going to change are your bonuses. What's going to change are your opportunities. And so we go from there. So again, training and pouring into your people, saying, I am committed to your success on the team. I'm committed to our partnership. I want you to have this opportunity. I want you to be exposed to that. So if you're in Keller Williams, it's family reunion, it's mega camp, it's masterminds that MAPS puts on, it's all the training that MAPS offers. Pour into your people, give them the opportunity to grow and expand. Everyone on my team on MAPS, of course, we work on coaching, but I absolutely empower them to go to any training, anything they can sign up for. It's on the company dollar, it's on the company time. It doesn't matter. Sign up, because I want you to be able to speak globally about what's happening in real estate. So with that said, and help the processes, let's go to the hiring process. So you put an ad out there, and whether you use Craigslist, Indeed.com, that's what a lot of the top producers use, whatever you use, Wise Hire, all great. I'm going to share with you, once you get those resumes back, here's the thing that I think is important, is that you call them randomly, and you have this conversation before you set an appointment with them. And the reason I'm calling them randomly, I'm catching them. And I'll say, hi, it's Monica Reynolds with Keller Williams. Do you have a couple of minutes? I appreciate your resume. Did I catch you at a good time? And they say, well, sure. Okay, I have a couple of minutes. Or they'll say, I can't right now. And I go, great. What's a good time to call you back? I want to catch them and I want to have a conversation because they're going to represent me. They represent me on the phone. The phone's a cash register and I need to hear a clear speaking voice. I need to hear some energy. I didn't call to talk to a dead person. And I want to hear that they can put two sentences together. So I said, thanks for your resume. And, I've got it in front of me. Just tell me, the last couple of years of your job history. And then I hear, so let me start. No. I like the one that goes, okay, I'll start 2 years ago and here's what I did. And here's where I changed jobs and blah, 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 blah. And I go, great. Thanks for letting me know about that. Now I may have another question. I go, well, tell me more about that job. That sounds interesting. I want to see a conversationalist that can think on their feet. Imagine that, right? Describe the perfect job for you. This is a real estate position in admin. Describe the perfect job for you. Well, I don't want to answer the phone and I don't want to deal with anything that's stressful or anybody's upset. I've had those jobs before and I went, okay, that's good. All right, well, sure, right? What are you the best at? What are you not so good at? What do you not enjoy doing? And then what are your hobbies? So these go really fast. I said, lovely to meet you. Then I make the decision. It was great talking to you. We'll be back in touch in the future and let you know what the next step is. That means you're out, done. Okay. And then we'll send you an email, say the position was filled and thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. Now, because I need that phone voice, I need a little energy coming through. So I'll say, so Sarah, thank you for talking with me today. The next step is that I hope that you can do. Today is Wednesday, and I would like by Friday at 5 o'clock, it'll probably take you about 45 minutes for one test and 20 for another. Would you have a time block that you could take these two personality tests for me? You can't win or lose. It's just who you are. And they're kind of fun tests to take. Would you be able to get that back to me by 5 on Friday? They say yes at 5:01. If I don't have it back, I'm done. Usually I can get them back right away. I get an email that says, thank you. I'll take this right away. I'm looking for the eager beaver that wants a job and that's going to comply. So again, you saw the questions, they're on the screen. So have that phone conversation before you bring them in. Now, I'm going to test their skills at some point, but when they first come in, and if you're Keller Williams, I follow the career visioning. I'll go through their KPA, the summary page exclusively, and ask a lot of questions about that. One of the things is that Gary did my KPA on stage at Mega Camp a couple of years ago. So I always like to share that in a program in PRIA and Perfect Real Estate Assistant also, because what happens then is that in the future, you're going to want this executive assistant to move into a director of operations. And so they will be helping you with the hiring and screening. So it's always good that everybody takes career visioning and everyone knows how to, interrogate a KPA. I test skills. I test the computer skills. I test their spelling skills. This is all done in the second interview. And I go 3 levels deep on references. After I talk to one person, I never talk to family or friends. I say, I need references that aren't family and friends. And then I will say, who else should I talk to? I need one more person. Who else in this business or organization should I talk to? And they will give me someone. So remember, go 3 levels deep. When they come in, I'll have other team members meet. Usually it's a 4 interview process. And I understand how hard it is to find good people right now. I know the market of the moment. And yet I tell them up front that there's probably 3 or 4 interviews and we'll go as quickly as we can based on your schedule too. And after the first interview, I'll say, I'm extremely interested. Let's plan the second interview. So I'm always planning the second one. And I'm not going to say, I'll call you and set something up. No, I get it done right there. Second interview, I'll go through the job description, the schedule, and then by the last interview will be an offer letter. Now, all of this is in the training program. However, let me share a couple things with you. Under no circumstance do I ever hire someone that I haven't gone through the job description and say, you won't know what this means right now. You'll be trained on it. but I wanted to give you the direction of what this job's expectations are. So let's go to the next one real quick, the resume checklist. So with the resume checklist, you know, I'm going to just share with you real quickly because of time that you have 3 piles. Okay. One pile I call Burger King. Now, I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken to get myself through college. So I kindly know everyone that's done that, and my hat's off to you because that's great training, right? And so, but they don't have any admin experience. So I just call it Burger King, meaning no admin. Second pile is I call admin experience. And third pile I call admin and real estate experience. And then so I divide those piles up. So some of you say, oh, I get a lot of resumes and I don't know how to do it. And I said, just divide them up. And then you have to read the ones that just jump out at you and say, hey, I got to talk. And narrow down to 4 or 5 that you're going to talk to. Now, don't throw anything out because you may need to dive back into that pile. And, you know, to find the very, very perfect person, you can't just interview 3 or 4 people. And a lot of you do not have the word patience in your vocabulary. I get that. I'm learning to put that in my vocabulary at my age finally. And yet you have to have that word patience. And don't hire on the spot. Don't hire the first person. Take your time. Now, one of my favorite questions is when they come in and I meet them, they better be on time, number one, or they just definitely get a black mark. Now, I understand calling me and saying, you know, somebody broke down on the freeway, I'm stuck. I get that. The second thing is I say, so what'd you find out about Monica Reynolds real estate? Oh, I haven't had a chance to look. Or someone says, well, I looked at your website and here's what I found out. Here are my questions. Absolutely has happened. And when they say, oh, I haven't had time to look, I'm thinking to myself, you want this job and you're not even looking at what this job is all about. And then the first question out of their mouth is, what is the pay? I said, great question. And we're not going to discuss that today. I want you to get to know us and I want to get to know you. And just say, I'm not prepared to answer that today. I need to know a little bit more about your skills and what you have to offer. And I want to share what we have to offer. Do not talk about pay because everything gets judged at that point. All right, next slide, Stephanie. So here's the ad that I wrote a zillion years ago, and I wrote it in the 80s, and then the 2000 MREA book came out, and it used a few of these things in here. So you must be an organizer, a positive person, a good communicator, both written and verbal, have excellent computer skills, have a good sense of humor, be a fast learner with a quick mind, and be willing to work hard and smart. So, you know, you can paraphrase this, you can use this ad however you want. And from the bottom of my heart, this ad works. It works. It works. It works. Please indicate salary level. I always like to see what people think that, you know, they would like to earn or what their worth is. That's fine. And I don't judge on that. I bring them all in after I have that phone conversation. So, you know, take your time, get those ads out there. There's a lot of local things that a lot of communities have, or Chamber of Commerce. Colleges are a great place to put an ad in, you know, a business opportunity. Start with that first, business opportunity. Okay. All right. So let's go to the next one, Steph. So the importance of a job description. It's a roadmap to success, clarity of expectations, duplicatable and scalable. And it's a training checklist. If you get anything out of today too, listen to that. When you have a job description, it's the training checklist. And you date it on each time they learn that. They check it off and they check it off and they check it off. So your standard is that you will help them and train them to learn the job. Now, you can delegate a lot of that out to some of the market centers for some of the things like command and training like that for the CRM. You can also, you know, look at the perfect real estate assistant class, which I'll talk about coming up in a minute. They need to have the global big picture and they need to have a system of training. So let's go look at a job description here. This is just an abbreviated version. My job description for one is your first assistant as an EA, who's a listing manager and a TC, is that these are just some abbreviated versions. They handle all incoming phone calls. That means that you can't have every call come on your cell phone. Not that anybody would do that. You're a business person. You go from realtor to business person when you hire an employee. You go from realtor to business person. And like I said, your life changes. Your client's life changes, and the opportunities for you are amazing when you delegate the stuff off of your plate and work on your dollar signs, work on your 20%. So handle all incoming phone calls, emails. obviously the listings and the pending files. Now, again, this is such an abbreviated version. My job description is 5 pages long. I break everything out from pre-list package to lead generation to phone etiquettes and all of those things and how they answer the phone. All right, next page, Stephanie. 30, 60, 90. Okay, on the 30, 60, 90, these are SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, repeatable, and timely. And so let's go to the next page. And so on the next page, as I said, the first 30 days basically is learn the phone. That's the cash register. How do they answer the phone consistently? Thank you for calling Monica Reynolds' office. This is Stephanie. I can help you. Now, that's one of the scripts I teach. I have 2 or 3 other scripts that you can choose from, but they need to answer it consistently. How do they close? The Disneyland close that I developed. By the way, thanks for working with our team. We so appreciate your business. Is there anything else we can do to help your day? And then sometimes you say, thanks for working with our team. We so appreciate your business. We'd love another great client like you. Who do you know right now who could use our help buying or selling? What if you had your assistant ask 5 people a day for a referral, 20 a week, 80 a month? Do you think you might get something out there? Just saying, because the real estate assistant is a profit center. They do not cost you money. They make you money if you do it correctly. All right, so we talked about that, the database, and obviously, putting a listing together. So everything in that first 30 days should be focused on that. Can they watch the process of a pending being done? Can they watch the process of something else? Sure, but stick to this the first 30 days if you are delegating and you're hiring a full-time assistant. If you're hiring part-time, you got to choose a few of these things. They can't do it all. They can do a few. All right, 60 days. So on the 60 days, Stephanie, let's move that. Thank you. It's the closing file, tracking numbers, and lead generation systems. So they're going to now track all the numbers for you. How many appointments you went on, listings taken, under contracts, price reductions closed, and the database number. Okay, let's talk about that. Every month you should be monitoring how many completes you have: name, address, phone number, and email. And in that, how many of those have you grown your list? I don't want to know about the incompletes. I need the completes. That is your future. That is your business. That's what's saleable also in the future, and that is your business, okay? All right, so closing files, lead generation. So 90-day goals. So here are your 90-day goals, all right? All marketing, Facebook, etc. Now this is one assistant with less than 40, 45 transactions that you close a year. Okay, if you're doing 100, one can't do all of this. All marketing, all the listings, all the pendings, database, phones and scripts, tracking weekly numbers, goal monitoring, 15th protocol of the month, meaning if you're not on track for that month, everybody jacks it up and we do different things to make the business come in, and assist with 1 or 2 lead generation systems. It could be getting your phone numbers ready for expireds or FSBOs, following the do not call list. They should be scrubbing that. That'll keep you out of jail there. So I'm going to go to the next slide because I think this is a really great slide here. Now, and don't get frustrated. We'll give you a copy of these slides, but here's what I want. You'll get this whole presentation. You'll see the slides and everything. So what I want you to hear, though, is that, the systems of communication are critical for you and your client. So when you bring on a new file, you don't throw the file down and say, hey, call them, it's a new listing. You go through what I call pass the baton. So I have a very clear call, explanation of that with a complete checklist. So in the Perfect Real Estate Assistant, there's 450 pages of a policy and procedures manual. It has letters, it has emails, it has social media campaigns, it has all the checklists you could think of. It has a hiring process, it has lead generation, it has customer service, customer experience, it has goal setting. So name it, it's in that policy and procedures manual. I've either written it and I've taken it from some of the best agents in the country, or I've stole it from them and then tweaked it out, whatever. There's no new secrets in real estate. It's just being in the business all the time, which I've done for 40 years. And so with that said, the 3-week honeymoon. So some of you say, well, my listing sells in a day, sells in a minute, sells in an hour. Well, we're starting to see the change. The market of the moment starting to change a little bit in some parts of the country. So that customer service has to step up. So the 3-week honeymoon is when you get that file to your assistant, they're calling within the hour. They're following a script. They're going through the things that are going to happen next, and they call them often. I will give them 21 days. I say you call every day because they're paying 6% of the value of their home to you. Well, whether you get the whole 6% or not, it's still 6% comes off the top, and that's how a seller thinks. So I want you to hear that I teach the assistants to understand that that client that might be a $10,000 commission is worth 5 in the next 5 years also. That client is worth 50,000. If you do it right, you should get a referral or repeat business from them with every single year. And so that's the tone of what I want to teach when I'm working with assistants. Now, in the Perfect Real Estate Assistant, the calls are 3 calls a month. The first call is for you agents, so I can share with you what I'm going to teach your assistants. Number 2 call and 3 calls for the assistants. Now, I'm going to teach you to be a great boss because, as you know, it's extremely expensive to go out and, hire another assistant and keep the whole process going again over and over again. So remember, I want to create this business and this policy and procedures manual where your assistant is excited and partnering and being a career person with you versus I'm just got a job until I find something I really want to do. Okay, so that's a 3-week honeymoon, 21 days of calls. I go through the scripts. They need to call them every day, call them every day, call them every day. And I teach absolutely emphatically the value of each client and what that means. Next page, I'm almost there. So hang on and then we'll open it up for questions. Friday report. Every Friday, an assistant will give you a report at 10 o'clock. 5 things I did to move the business forward. Week high, week low, and what'd you do to wow a customer. Communication is critical. You want to validate what the assistant is doing. You want to say thank you every day. You want to say I appreciate you every day. And that too is how you keep a great assistant to want your success. Next page, Stephanie. So our next launch is, and I know some of you are asking, our next launch is October 13th. You go to mapscoaching.com/group, Perfect Real Estate Assistant. If you put Web 100, you will get $100 off of the first call. The cost is $195 per month, which is not on the slide, but it's $195 per month in 6 months. There are 18 calls and you end up with a 450-page policy procedures manual. Okay, so Deb, I want to go back to you. Deb, that I was asking questions from. What do you think you're going to do differently this time that you didn't do the first time?
Better training, better understanding of the job, and what she's, I never really asked what she was looking for. I just told her what needed to be done. And I did have a job description and a policy manual. Everything was signed. I thought I did all the right things, but I don't think I was there enough to follow up on the training and her achievements.
Okay, so when you hire your next assistant, Deb, you have to show that you care about their success. So the first day you block off and you spend the entire day, take them to lunch, come back, go through every one of your clients, go through the database, talk about your career, talk about yourself, talk about your culture, how you want people treated. And I think the other thing that I heard in talking to you earlier is I really think it's important that you set up the expectations on pay. And so here's how you win. If you want to make more money, here's what you can do. And so I require every single assistant bring 300 names, address, phone numbers, and emails of their friends, family, and past coworkers. We put it into the database with a field with their initials, and then they start getting my videos, my mailings. And then I tell the assistants to call every single one of those people and say, I'd love your help. If you're ever thinking about buying or selling or know someone, help me with my job, give me a lead, let me know who it is. Okay. All right. Steph, can you look at some of these questions with me? Would you recommend, I just saw. Yeah, okay, well, hold on, I'll do this one first. Would you recommend someone starting the program upon hire or after hire? I recommend wherever you are is the perfect time to start the program. So if you're thinking of hiring, do your best job to have them hired before the calls start. If not, sign up for the calls because they're live, just like this. And I call on people on the screen and then they're recorded. And so it's a 6-month class and you have 2 months after the class of all the recorded calls and all the materials. You will get a handout every single week that's up to 50 pages, 30 pages at least, up to 50 pages of systems, of checklists, of letters, of lead generation systems, probate systems, everything's there. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Go for it. Okay. Jothy Joseph has her hand up.
Yes. Hi, Monica. Thank you for taking the call. It's great to
Yeah.
talk to you. So the question is, how would this apply to a virtual assistant, and what are your ideas about virtual assistants?
Well, I think the world turned into virtual assistants, right? I've been in this office, in my home office, since March 13th, a year and a half ago. So we're all virtual now, pretty much, a lot of us. So what virtual assistants do take this class. I work really strongly with cyber backers. They're all virtual assistants. They all take this class. They all have access to it. So virtuals are very, very good for that. Now, there will be some virtuals in your world. You need to make sure that maybe they don't have a command of the English language very well. So you're probably not going to have them be contact with clients, but can they do behind the scenes things and checklists and ordering things and social media and Facebook and all of that? Absolutely. Database. There's so much that they can do and prepare for you without interaction. You just need to make sure you have the right speaking voice to interact with your clients. Okay. All right, good. Okay. Question, Stephanie?
To know how would you do a 90-day reset?
Stephanie, I couldn't hear you.
How would you do a 90-day reset?
How do you do a 90-day reset?
Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah, you're real scratchy. A 90-day reset. Okay, so first of all, it's not a 90-day reset, it's a 30-day reset. You never go past 30 days. And then once they've accomplished that, you go to 60 days. So it's a great question because sometimes because of business and things happening, 30 days isn't enough to learn the phone, the CRM, and the processing a listing from A to Z with a pre-list package to making the phone calls to the whole process, ordering signs, putting brochures together. That can take more than 30 days sometimes. So the reset begins at 30 days. Great question. Do you recommend having an assistant and a TC? Yeah, if your business needs it. So if you have an assistant and you're doing less than 40 transactions, I don't think you need a TC. A lot of people will have an assistant and then they'll have an outside virtual TC for $300-400 a contract. If that works for you, it's okay. The question is, does your budget allow it? Can you afford it? Okay. All right. What's next, Stephanie? Steph, can't hear you. Something's wrong with your microphone today. All right, let me see if I can read through these. I have a
one is,
nightmare.
what was the unit breakdown again?
Okay, the unit breakdown. So this is just thinking. Now, commissions have risen, okay, over the years. So it used to be, since I've been doing this for 40 years, and if you're doing 40 transactions, you can afford and you should have an assistant because you're doing a transaction a week, basically. Because with time off, et cetera, Christmas, holidays, you're doing a transaction a week. So with the commissions rising the way they are, maybe it's 25 to 30 transactions, and that's where you hire your assistant. When you have at least 2 or 3 months in a reserve for that assistant. Now remember, in the 1980, I hired my first assistant, and I knew I had 1 month's salary for sure. I mean, I'm doing a lot of transactions. I wasn't even keeping track of my money, to tell you, to be honest. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll just do it for 1 month and see how it goes. Well, my business exploded. I was able to do the things I like to do. My customers were happier and I had more time with my kids. So that would all worked out. So you have to look at your business, and it's about the finances because the commissions have risen. But usually if you're doing 1 transaction a week, you need an assistant immediately. If you're on track to do that, you're doing three a month, I'd say you still look at it pretty hard. You always want to hire before the chaos starts. You always hire before the chaos starts. Okay. Do you recommend our EAs lead generate? Not so much for SOI, but more for expired term? No. You have to be a killer real estate agent to call an expired or a for sale by a owner. You know, when you read the book, The One Thing, an admin person is a support person. They are not a salesperson. And when you're calling in expired, you better know your script. You better know how to handle that call, because those expireds will chew you up, spit you out, and, you know, carve you in pieces. but I know how to handle expires. I think they're great role play partners. So do I recommend they lead generate? Absolutely not, but I do recommend this. They do holiday calls, they check in with people. I recommend that they ask for a referral on every call, and I recommend that they use the promise. The promise basically is asking them for a referral during their time together. And so should they be asking for referrals? Yes. Should they be asking their friends and families for referrals? Yes. But are they a hard, lead generator, telemarketer, ISA, inside sales agent? No. And plus, with the do not call list, if they're not licensed, do not let them touch this. And you've got to be so careful with that do not call list right now. There's so many lawsuits around the country, and they like Keller Williams agents because you guys have money. Okay. All right. What's next? Angel, do you see anything?
Yes, 1 second.
Oh, where do we get the policy and procedures manual? Well, thanks for that. Go to mapscoaching.com, sign up for the perfect real estate assistant class. And what's great is if I sent it to you, you'd look at it and go, oh, whatever. And it goes on the shelf. You and I both know that. However, if you come to the class and I give it to you in pieces, then what happens is you will have homework assignments. Your assistant will have homework assignments. Your assistant will be accountable to you to get that done. And then you have your systems built. I give you blueprints. I give you great checklists, but there's things that are going to be indigenous to your area, whether it's Georgia, whether it's Wyoming, Washington. You're going to be doing things different for your marketplace also. So I give you the templates. I give you what should be in there, and then you guys tweak them from there, or you can use them exactly like they are if they work for you. So if you make that investment, in every single person who has made that investment in the perfect real estate assistant class has said, this is the best thing that I've done in my real estate career. You pour into your hire. If you don't have a hire right now, you are the assistant. 25–30% of the people on the call are agents without assistants because they've got a lot of C in them and they want to know the systems. And then they've got the material to train an assistant coming on board, and hopefully that they'll put them back in the class, because I know that the real estate assistant is the secret weapon. Okay, respectful of everybody's time. What else? Stephanie, any other, or Angel, any other questions?
They were just asking, the recording will be available on the MAPS group YouTube channel. I just posted in the chat. There's a link. The $100 off is off one time. So unfortunately it is not off each monthly payment. And then let's see, do you recommend signing up for perfect real estate assistant and director of ops?
Do I recommend what?
It says, do you recommend signing up for perfect real estate assistant and director of ops? Maybe perfect operations team.
Okay, well, so I want you to think about this. You want to take the perfect real estate assistant first before you take the perfect operations team. The perfect real estate assistant is going to give you the foundation where you check all your systems and make sure you have every single system in the way it should be. When you go to the next class, which is called the perfect operations team, that's a deep dive into the profile, the job description of a listing manager that is probably listing 20 plus houses. It's a TC that's doing 25 plus transactions a month each. And then you've got a director of operations. So you've got a bigger team doing about 150 transactions. I saw something here I wanted to address. So an agent lost her assistant to another agent who was willing to pay a lot more. Hopefully that wasn't in Keller Williams, because that's out of culture. That agent should be tossed out of the business, all right, or out of the office. So I'd love to hire someone who will stay with me and my team for more than a year. Okay, you put them on, like I said, there's three things when you pour into people. So for example, I had a growth call, and I'm giving the MREA book to one of my team members, and I'm giving her Total Money Makeover from Dave Ramsey. She's got some college debt. She's got some other debt, and I'm going to get her on that path. When you pour into people and you give them an opportunity to grow and you pay them a fair wage, and they can make bonuses off of your production also because they're helping you grow, they won't leave you when you know them. So do you know them? Do you know what their family's like? Do you know that they have a dog that's going to die? Do they have a cat that they like? I mean, what do you know about your people? Yeah. And remember, it's family, it's community, and it's culture. They don't leave you when you pour into them. And so you have to step back and take that time. Okay?
Yeah, Monica, if I can make a comment, because that was my scenario that I put in
Okay.
there,
Yeah, Jill.
and my assistant was in your last class, which we will do again for sure, no question.
Thank you.
And I'm trying to come to terms with sometimes it just happens, because I
Yeah,
did
it
know
does.
her. Single parent, 2 daughters, helped her with her living situation, helped her with the kids, was, super flexible. I stand a little bit tough on not bonusing on my transactions. However, part of my assistant's job is to support my team and the buyer specialists. So, she was bonused on their transactions, and she was also bonused on 2 campaigns that she started for me. That was her efforts that we began, one being probate. So the opportunities were there. I don't know where I missed the boat. And actually, she was not honest with me when she told me she was leaving, why she was leaving, and where she was going.
Okay, so first of all, when you poured into her and helped her, a single mom with the kids, she's out of culture that she didn't respect that. So you basically hired a lemon, and there's nothing you can do. She was raised wrong, she was taught wrong, and it's too bad you didn't smell it out when you went through the interview process. And sometimes they're very good people, and you just learn, and you go, there will be something that, Jill, maybe you go, wonder why she said that, wonder why she did that. All of a sudden, red flag, red flag, red flag, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
when you hear a red flag, you stop immediately and say, hey, tell me more about what you just said. I'm curious. And I always smile when I say that. Tell me more about what you just said. I'm curious. What does that mean? Because all of a sudden, so she was out of culture before she even got to you, in my thinking, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if you lie on the way out, that's not anybody you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So
and it's
here's the good
unfortunate.
news, Jill. Here's the good news. She's gone. She's out. She's done. She could have done a lot more harm. So be glad she's gone, and take your time to really explain who you are in the career. Explain, I want to give you opportunities. Here's your opportunities. So she was an opportunist, and we'll run across some of those, but you can smell them out pretty quickly. And then it's not about clipping their wings. It's about, let's have a conversation about where you are in the next 3 years. Where do you see yourself growing in this job? And so everyone on my team has a 3-year plan of where they're going to be 3 years from now. What does that job look like? What department are they running? Does that make sense?
Yeah, we did that. We worked on goals and everything too, but yeah, that definitely I would love to.
Okay. All right.
Rather than
I'm
just 1 year
respectful of you guys.
and
Yeah. Thanks, Joe. I'm respectful of your time. Shireen, you have your hand up. Tell me what your question is.
Hi, Monica. Thanks for taking my question. I actually
Of course.
just wanted to learn a little more about your bonus structure. I'm hiring my first admin. I did tell her that, there's going to be a 3-month probation. And then after that, I'm looking at setting up a bonus structure, which is not done yet.
Okay.
I just
So
don't-
if you're paying, okay, so I'll go through this real quickly. Now, this is just me. And again, if you're an assistant on the call, do not go back to your agent and say, Monica said, because I'm not. I'm just giving you a suggestion. So, Doreen, here's what I suggest. You pay them a fair salary that that they can pay their bills. So I always ask somebody, what's your monthly nut? How much do you need a month? Before I even talk pay, I want to know. So I say, great, here's the great news. I'm going to pay you a base salary of blank. Okay. And I will never raise that base salary. And let me explain why and what the opportunities are. After 90 days and you've completed the 30, 60, 90, then we will talk about a bonus structure. Now, I'm going to pay you on every single one of my closings because I want you to want my success. I want you to see the big picture. The more business I do, the more opportunities you have. And it's not a cul-de-sac job. We're going to form a career together. We're going to form a team together. And I want you to succeed. So the first 6 months, we're going to start out at $25. And then based on your initiative and what you've been able to achieve and what you've been able to support the business with, we're going to look at the next pay raise. I don't know what that is yet, but we'll look at that. And then every year, we'll look at the bonus structure. So in the first year, you're going to get 2 raises. So hypothetically, Shireen, you pay them $25. Maybe you go to 35 the next time, maybe you go to 50. And then you cap out at, you not cap out yet, then you go to 75. Within a couple of years, you can cap out at 150 and say, this is where it caps out, okay, or 100.
150 per transaction, per closed transaction.
If you've had them more than 3 years, yes, that's how you keep them.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, good. All right, great. Okay, you guys. Let's see. Anything else here? Angel, anything else?
I think Christina has a question here.
Okay, Christina, go.
Yes, hi. I just hired my assistant a week and a half ago. And I am giving her base hourly salary, hourly rate. And then I'm also giving her a bonus for each appointment she sets. And also if...
Oh, wait, stop right there. How is she qualified to set an appointment? Is she pre-qualifying them?
Yes.
How did she learn how to do that?
I give her a script. She
Okay.
used to be an agent in Virginia.
Okay.
So she is familiar with a few things. However, I find that for the past week, we're on a Zoom, working on a Zoom. She's working from home.
Okay.
And I am in my home and we work on a Zoom.
Okay. What's your question? Great. What's your question?
My question is, I feel that she's a little bit too slow. She stretches and I mean, she's not producing per hour as much as I would expect her.
Well, then you
to.
need to say to her, here's what I need you to accomplish today, and give her enough to choke a horse, basically, so you can see if she can get it done. So are you giving her what she needs to accomplish that day? Or are you just letting her work on whatever?
So I am giving her a list every morning, and I would
Okay.
tell her, I want you to do this before lunch, and
Okay.
this the admin work
Okay.
after lunch.
Okay.
But she doesn't complete half the stuff.
All right. So what you
She's
want to do,
slow.
if you're going to, you either need to cut bait and fire her now, or you need to say to her very gently, we need to make some changes. And I have a feeling that I haven't given you, so you always accept responsibility. I have a feeling, and I apologize as a leader, I have not given you enough instruction to be efficient. So what I'd like to do, this is the hard one. I have a computer and I'm going to have you be on Zoom most of the day, so that I can touch base with you anytime, turn around and talk to you. That way I can make sure you're on task. When people work from home, they have to earn the right that they're staying on task, and they will show themselves. So she's doing laundry, I'm just saying hypothetically, or she's running around in the internet looking at stuff she shouldn't do. So you're going to say for the next couple of days, you need to be on Zoom while you're working. So I'll give you an iPad if you don't have another computer to do your work off of, or whatever. So you're going to have severe accountability. That's step number one, if you can do that. Step number two is check in with me every 2 hours and tell me what you completed. And then if she says, well, I didn't get this done, you go, gosh, you had 2 hours. Tell me what went down. What were you doing? So you're going to have severe accountability. She may not be an efficient person to work at the pace that you like to work at, Krishna. And so you have to be very, very clear. You've got to have set the expectations, and you say to her, gosh, I'm surprised you were not able to get that done by noon. Tell me what got in the way. I'm here to help you be extremely efficient. Okay. The other thing that I want you guys to hear, under no circumstance does someone set an appointment for you that you don't call and qualify them yourself. Okay. I learned that mistake, and I learned it really fast. I was going on appointments I shouldn't have. So make sure that if you have someone setting appointments for you, that you are also qualifying before you go out. So does that help a little bit?
Yes, thank you. And I like the fact that you asking about every 2 hours to see what she have done and what got in the way of completing the list I gave her. Because I feel like I see her work like in the computer in the front, and I also hear her like in the morning when I'm prospecting, she is also on the phone. So I either mute her or myself, or I can hear her, right?
Okay.
But she's not efficient, but thank you for every 2 hours.
Yeah, it always goes back to agents on this call. It always goes back to severe accountability. So you always step up the accountability, and you set those expectations and say, I expect that you complete this today. And if for some reason you can't, we're going to visit every 2 hours why this one didn't get done. Now, she might be a person that does scatter management or whatever projects where she'll do a little of this, little of that. She's got major attention deficit disorder, so nothing's really getting done, but she's touching everything. So you teach her to complete one task before you go to the next. Complete one task before you go to the next. And then you prioritize them and say, this is your first task. This is your second. Do not go to 2 until you've done 1. She might be doing the scatter approach to doing a project, like she's touching them all and not getting anything done. Okay?
So I gave her like I said, just do this, and that. And then she decided to go and figure it out what she used to do. Like we needed to find a phone number for one particular client. And I said, well, go to 4-1, right? And do that. And then she started going to being verified and all that.
But why didn't you call her on it and say, why did you not follow my instructions? What should I have said differently to make sure you do it next time right?
Perfect.
Call them on it. You call them on it, and you say it not like I'm teaching you. Now you do a tonality. Hey, I noticed that you didn't use the 411. Can you tell me what I can do better to make sure that that's the first step you do instead of? And I love the creativity, but however, let's do what I suggest first. What do I need to say next time to make that happen? So you just smile, head nod, and make it roll. Okay. So someone asked here, if you're with a market center in Keller Williams, the KPA is available to you through your market center. They all have them. The disc you have to buy online, and they're anywhere from $45 to $150. If you go through Wise Hire, they'll do it for you for free, but then you're hiring them also to screen, which is also a good thing too. So all of that is good. Okay. All right. Respectful of everybody's time. We went over, but I appreciate all of this. I would love to coach you on being a great agent with an admin person. And I'd love to coach your admin. So go to mapscoaching.com, sign up, put the Web 100 in, get your discount, and I'll see you on the calls next month. I guarantee you that they'll be the most valuable thing you can do in real estate when you build a team and you have the processes and you have the policy and procedures manual. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you being on the call. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye.